Hello, welcome back to Autism, Life's Little Detour. I'm Cheryl, and I am the mother of a 31-year-old man 31-year-old person with severe autism, nonverbal autism. He he does have some speech, but he is completely dependent on us for a variety of reasons. And you can check out all my other videos to learn more about him and about kind of our history and so on. Copy. So let's talk about autism and recent suggestions that acetaminophen and acetaminophen is one of the causes. That's the latest thing. I'm just gonna let you know how I feel as someone who not only is full-time caretaker for my 31-year-old son, and he's the youngest of my 4 children. I have 3 adult daughters who are off doing their own thing, their own life, and I have 3 grandchildren. My 3 grandchildren each have some significant similarities to neurological differences in their brain. Their brains are definitely wired differently. Although they are doing very well thanks to their awesome parents, my daughters. What I want to say is that as a parent, for 31 years, I've heard everyone's opinion, everyone's suggestions. People share the latest cures, the latest science, the latest drug, the latest this, the latest that. And I really appreciate people wanting to be helpful, and I appreciate people having enough sympathy and sometimes empathy to want to make things better or easier or help find answers. I appreciate that. I also appreciate the many scientists, medical professionals, professionals in neurological studies. Gosh, the list goes on. There are so many different agencies out there that have been working, trying to figure out not only autism, but ADHD and so many other conditions that are just the brain's different way of navigating the world. So neurodiversity is a thing. And I can tell you in my own family, neurodiversity is a thing. We have ADHD. We have, of course, autism. And several family members have autism. We have all kinds of behaviors and different things that don't even really have labels, or they have assumptive labels. The doctors think it's this, or they think it's that. But the behaviors in general tend to fall in a spectrum that is very, very similar to any of the different levels on the autism spectrum. My reason for bringing this up is there has to be a definite genetic component to this. And that is what most of the medical field, the scientific field, believe, is that there's a strong genetic component to this. Okay. Environmental, there could very well be environmental connections, which would include what you eat, medications you take, so on and so forth, chemicals in the air, whatever, what kind of water you drink in your community. All of those things, sure, could play a factor. There are certain little studies that show a few correlations here and there. But there's nothing definitive enough to say, yes, this is an environmental cause. The one that makes the most sense to me is the genetic makeup. In the genetic makeup for an individual, there is the possibility that that genetic makeup causes them to be more susceptible to certain things, certain chemicals, certain foods, so that as they're forming in the womb, their brain is susceptible to these things, or as infants, their bodies are susceptible. Their brain is, so their genetic makeup causes them to have this sensitivity to certain things. And the reason I believe that that is truly the case is that, as I said, so many people in my family that have these different types of neurological conditions that are kind of interrelated. If I could put up a Venn diagram of it, I would, that shows all the overlaps. In fact, my sister sent me a great one. And I think let me throw that up here. You may want to pause and look closer at this. And I'm not sure where she got it, but it pretty much tells you what my whole family is about. And I'll bet there are many families out there with this same thing going on. Okay? So these genetic factors, when you think about it, they can be stronger in one child than another. So for me, for example, I have 4 children. 3 of my children have been diagnosed with ADHD. They function great, and it really, in some ways, enhances their lives. But it's a fact that they've shared openly that they have been diagnosed with this. All right, so that's in the family, and in many generations and many other extensions of my family, cousins, aunts, uncles, parents, these things, my siblings, all touch them. So much like hair color, skin color, there's a concentration of that, and there's a different variation of that. So for example, my brother, one of my brothers, and my sister, they inherited the looks from my dad, olive skin, very dark, almost black curly hair. Okay. I inherited most of my genetic makeup from my mom. Although I didn't get her dark hair, my hair's always been light. So my light hair came from somewhere else, someone else down the genetic line. My point in bringing this up is, as we know from our experience with those kinds of variations and concentrations, and you put that together with when you start looking up your ancestral heritage, you find that when you get your ancestry report, you see that you take more after one parent than another. Your sibling might take after a parent indifferent. So it shows you having a higher concentration of, say, for me, Ireland, Scotland with one parent, and another parent, it might just be Western European, and a concentration in some of the other northern countries. That's because genetics spread themselves out in their own random way. So you're not going to have equal 50-50 from both parents. So that means my 4 children could have inherited genes from, and plus my 4 children are from 2 different fathers. So they would have inherited different genes from this dad and that dad, but the same from me, obviously. And so I'm thinking, okay, it must come through my family line for the most part because they have all these conditions. But then their father's families also have some of these conditions. So you have to understand that there is a genetic component to this. And they're doing a lot of studies on this. Could somebody have a sensitivity to acetaminophen? Of course. Just like people have sensitivities to peanuts. My grandson is allergic to peanuts. Nobody else is, but for some reason he is. How did that happen? I don't know. Some kind of genetic component, something that just in his makeup, you know. So to alarm the whole world about, to alarm pregnant mothers or young women planning to have babies just to kind of walk it off if you have pain. I understand that it's a warning or whatever you want to say, and they're just trying to help. I get that. But it's really, really unfortunate to come out with saying these things to disrupt lives when you don't have a direct link, a direct causation. You've got a few correlations. Okay. I could say, wow, I ate lots of mashed potatoes when I was pregnant with lots of butter because I craved them. That was my food craving. Potatoes, French fries, potatoes. Those are horrible for you to eat eat a lot of. Just as a person, they're not great. You shouldn't eat a whole bunch of fried potatoes or a whole bunch of butter. But that was my craving. But that was my craving with all of my children. Did that cause their ADHD and my son's autism? I don't think so. You could make correlations with so many things, right? I mean, think of how many people take pain medication or drink milk or drink alcohol or have a couple Diet Cokes every day. Who knows? There's chemicals in everything. And to make an assumption based on a very weak correlation is just, to me, reckless. It's reckless. And it's yet another theory put out there by people who have not experienced autism, have not been involved with it, have not really sat down with all levels of science in the matter, really sit down with groups that have studied, scientists, doctors, whoever, that have studied this for years and years and years. And you've got to sit down with them all across the spectrum. You've got some that are leaning toward environmental. You've got some that are leaning toward, no, it's just genetics. Come together and discuss what you've found, right? They pretty much do that. That's what a peer-reviewed paper is. Your peers review it. That's how it's supposed to be discovered and presented. Not some random person that's desperately trying to make vaccines and medication the blame for everything in our life. I'm not going to say you should or shouldn't get vaccinations or get your child vaccinated. I'm not saying that. I'm not getting involved in that discussion. What I'm saying is we should listen to the people who study this. Listen to the people who have actually found science that is based in solid research. And as a mom, I am like sick up to here with everyone's opinion when they have no idea. Not only have I raised somebody for 31 years, and I will be his caretaker till the end of my life, I've raised 3 daughters. I've lived in a family with a variety of conditions. I've worked in the field. I worked for years with people with disabilities, many with autism. I worked as a physical physical fitness, recreational gymnastics coach. I owned my own business for 30 years where I taught all different ages, and many of them had autism and other types of afflictions. Autism and ADHD were huge. There were huge percentages of kids in our program that had both of those things. Talking with the parents, support groups, going to workshops, going to trainings, reading all kinds of things related to neurological differences so that I could know better how to relate to my students or relate to the adults that I was working with in the disability supported employment world, or you name it. So I have been exposed to the research, and I am a mother of someone. He was born in 1994, which was barely past the years that they started really researching the affliction, the condition. I was only 20 years out from them blaming the mom and saying it was frigid mother syndrome. So I've been in this game for a while. I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I am experienced, and I have researched and I have read. I've been looking for 31 years for a cause, for a treatment, for something to help my son. And in between that, I'm just trying to navigate how to be the best mom to him that I can be. And I'm trying to navigate how to help him survive in this social environment where his behavior is unacceptable. He's misunderstood. He could get arrested if somebody thinks that he's acting inappropriately, and then he's not responding to somebody of authority in the way they think he should. He could get arrested. He could get shot. That's happened, right? If I get in an accident on the freeway and I get knocked out, how are they going to communicate with my son? See, those are the things day to day, not to mention just frustrations that we won't even go into in raising a child with this type of condition. Day-to-day issues that we face. In his early years, he was like many kids with autism. He was an eloper. He would run the minute he got a chance in through a parking lot. He would escape any lock. He figured out how to open anything, and he would be out. He was out 3 times in my house, 3 times over the years. We had to go find him. And he wasn't even, gosh, he was what? One time he was like 3 years old, 2.5 to 3 years old, in his little white diaper, and he had gotten out the front door late one night. Figured out the lock, got out. Later, as he was older, 9 years old, he goes over the neighbor's fence, he had been muddy from playing outside, ends up sitting on the neighbor's couch. The neighbor had to bring him home. All these things happen. Sometimes there's tragedy at the end of the elopement. Fortunately for me, there hasn't been. I've been very, very lucky. But these are the things we deal with every day. So as a mom, I don't really care. If you come up with a treatment, a cure, whatever, great. Okay, if somebody comes up with that, great. But every time that someone of authority tries to make some grand, announcement about, oh, we figured it out, we as parents of these children have to endure friends, family members, neighbors, the grocery store clerk, you name it. Oh, wow, it's so cool that they think they found the cause. They think they found the treatment. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. And even if they did, it wouldn't necessarily benefit people with older children. So just keep that in mind. This is already a brain that's been well-formed and well-wired. And it would probably take another 30 years to undo it, even if there was a treatment. So there's no miracle cure here. What we really need society to focus on, and I'm not talking about doctors and scientists. I want them to keep going because, of course, it would be a much better life for a child to be born without nonverbal severe autism. So keep working. keep researching. But the rest of you who are not experts, please just remember, we need your support as a society. We need you to be understanding and compassionate. We need you to be happy to pay the taxes that go to the benefits that help the families like ours or help the individual to at least be in a decent place to live for the remainder of their life. You want to help? That's the way you help. You support the services that are out there. And you need to remember that when they say they're going to cut this or they're going to cut that, that always that trickles down to cutting state funds for such programs that my son is in. You want to help? Support those programs. Don't let them cut those programs. That's how you help. Don't, make your posts on social media about, oh, this is great. What a great leadership we have, that they've discovered the cause and the cure. Give me a break. I didn't mean for this to become a rant, but I know there are parents out there that feel just like I do. And maybe some of you are going to send me hate mail. Maybe some of you are parents who feel like this is the cure that you've been waiting for, or maybe you believe that the extract that they're discussing, the leucovorin or whatever it's called, I don't know how to pronounce it because I don't care. Whatever that is, for me, if they find that it is truly a remarkable product that helps the brain to function and it helps to rid the body of toxins and all of that, sure. But I'm not going to make some company rich by buying, stocking up on this miracle supplement that's the latest in the long list of miracle supplements that we've seen. I'm not going to sign up for that right now. You go ahead. Don't be mad at me for my decision, and don't be mad at me for what I have to say, because I'm standing on experience. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm right, or I'm a genius. I'm just saying my experience tells me different. Your experience is your experience. Make a video for you to tell your story. That's just fine. Okay? But if you come on here and try to pick me apart or hate on me, I'll ignore you. I won't respond to you. If you come on here to give me your ideas, if you come on here to nicely say, wow, here was my experience, then that's fine. So keep your comments nice if you want a response. I'm happy to respond. I'm happy to discuss. I'm happy to go look up things that you want to send me. If you want to link some kind of article that you've read, I'm happy to. When people send me those things, I do go look at them because I like to be well informed. But at this point in my life, I'm 65 years old and I am taking care of my 31-year-old son. And at this point in my life, my whole goal is just to make him the happiest, healthiest, most independent he can possibly be before I die. So I don't need to be arguing with any of you who have not had the experience that I've had. All right? So just laying that out there. Thank you for listening, and I will be back with something a little lighter as I share my experience with you in this autism adventure. So have a beautiful day, and yeah, be kind. Just be kind. Thank you. Bye-bye.